Live on SEN Track, welcome to the Tab Touch Lounge. With Tab Touch, the race starts when the bet's on. Tab Touch, better your bet. Gamble responsibly. Call Gamblers Help on 1800 858 858.
Yeah, it's a very good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tab Touch Lounge on this Friday morning and the morning of one of the most significant events, that is football events to be staged here in Perth. We've got a semi-final tonight between Geelong and GWS. Gets underway at 10 to 6, and already the precinct is in lockdown here for security reasons around Optus Stadium. We had to park in a different location this morning to get to our place of employment, but it's all part of what promises to be a very exciting a day as people will start arriving, you think, just after lunch. The first of three Bonanza weekends. We've got the preliminary final, of course, next Friday night, and then the grand final in a fortnight after that on Saturday, September the 25th. Great to have your company. Plenty coming up. David Short will join us from Tab Touch very shortly. And Declan, of course, my co-hosts in the studio. Dec, a very good morning to you. It is exciting times tonight. The Cats against the Giants, preliminary final, and then the Grandie 2 weeks after that.
Oh, time flies. Good morning, Peter. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tab Touch Lounge. The smell of finals is in the air.
Yes, and the weather's going to be fantastic. There was a bit of drizzle this morning. It's going to be a coolish night tonight for the footy. Then it's warming up across the weekend. I think 22 tomorrow, 25 Sunday, and by Tuesday it'll be around about 28 degrees. So spring weather is certainly arriving here in Perth.
It certainly is. We've had our fair share of rain, dry but cold, and I looked in Brisbane for tomorrow's couple of millimetres of rain in the afternoon, but should be fine weather too by the time the game kicks off. Had a bit of fun this week, but there's a serious...
I'm glad you had a bit of fun.
But there's a serious undertone to it, Pete, on social media. People call me Dec, but it's not Tick-a-Deck. I have been, and I'm sure anyone in this organisation, yes, we work at SEN, yes, we've got the official rights to the AFL as a media broadcaster. I cannot get tickets for you. It's lovely to hear from friends and acquaintances.
And they also will pay for them.
Oh, the standard line, either on a voicemail message, Pete, or a text is, how you going? So that's nice. They check in on me. Some of these people I haven't spoke to since COVID started, but they're friends and acquaintances. Happy to pay for it. All I'm looking for is two. So I've started to become a little bit of a smart aleck. To what? Knowing full well what they want. I would love to help everybody, but just for the record, I do not have access to AFL tickets. Are you getting the same?
Oh, very much so. But they won't be released, really, and the allocation won't be determined until the grand finalists are put in place. So they won't be available for another couple of weeks. Once we know who the grand finalists are, the allocation will be given to those teams. Of course, all the member clubs will get an allocation. And there may be just a few available that you can purchase first come, first served and best dressed, as they say, through the ticketing office, which might be Ticketmaster or Ticketek, wherever it may be.
And that's obviously for general admission. And obviously, whichever teams are playing, people, there is interstate membership. So Melbourne being...
So if Port Adelaide get in, you might get a few South Australians coming in.
Or Brisbane.
Yeah, that's true.
But for those of you who do have money, there's a release this morning, AFL Grand Final corporate prices. So, Pete, for a lazy $57,600, you can get a premium 16-person suite. If you want to just spend that little bit more of your corporate dollar for a 20-person suite, $72,000. And if you really have had a good year despite lockdown, and some companies, let's face it, have had a boomer year despite the pressures of lockdown, especially on this side of the country, why not splash out $115,200 and you can get a 32 premium suite?
There you go. And if you want to have, and we go for a coffee here, don't we,
Yep.
to the City View restaurant.
We didn't this morning.
Didn't this morning because, as we know, it's locked down because of the game tonight for security reasons. But if you want to have I think it's either a lunch and a drinks package and all that, plus a ticket to the game, it's $2,010. The ticket to the grand final, I think, just judging the way it's built in, is around $1,500 a head.
Wow.
That's what we're looking at for a ticket that's built into the corporate package for a grand final. So if you weighed it all up, But certainly in the suites are a bit more expensive. But if you're looking at dining,
Yes.
if you're looking at a dining package, like the River Room dining will be there, that's $2,310. The Premiership Terrace, they go up because of the so-called class factor or the ratings factor. But in those so-called restaurants and the sports lounges, I reckon the AFL Grand Final ticket has been built in at about $1,500 a head.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
there
look,
you go.
look, you and I have been fortunate enough to go to many grand finals when life was what we call normal at the MCG, and it is very much a corporate affair. I do feel for, and maybe they're getting ahead of themselves, but we'll be talking to Shorty shortly. And, Melbourne are certainly the favourites at this stage. Such a long drought grand final, if they get there, you got to feel sorry for the fans. But, we're living in this environment. But the one thing that will be sure, Pete, we broadcast from Optus Studios, which is Optus Stadium, which is at the base of the stadium opposite the Campfield in our very nice SEN studios. This place will be rocking on Saturday the 25th, and it will be a full house. And people will pay that corporate dollar.
They will.
It won't be an
They
issue.
will.
And the AFL, it's their production. We know this every year. The clubs have to stand aside. They've got to make money. Yes, they've had the TV rights. It's been a horrendous year, and there's supply and demand. People are flying on airlines at the moment paying horrendous fees. If you want a ticket, you'll pay for it, and people will.
And the AFL has come in. As we know, Gillum McLaughlin currently is doing quarantine. For the week leading into the grand final, every ballroom, every restaurant is booked out by the AFL. Everything is booked out at Crown by the AFL. So if you wanted to get in to maybe do something or book maybe a facility at the Crown, it might even be the 2 weeks leading into the grand final. The AFL has just taken carte blanche. We've booked the whole lot out. We've booked Crown out.
Yep.
Every restaurant, every ballroom is ours. And they'll be having multiple functions there and trying to redeem as much corporate dollars as they can with this venture west to stage the AFL Grand Final.
Absolutely. And Fox Footy are across here doing broadcasts from the sports bar.
Yep.
But more importantly, Peter, as we sit in the Tab Touch Lounge and on the Tab Touch Lounge, and we've been going over a year now, and great support from
It's
everybody.
gone quick.
Some big news.
Big news.
Big news. As you know, we're here on a Friday, and we have been for the last year, 8 to 10, and we got upgraded to Friday and Saturday about 6 months ago. Well, as of this Monday, we're on Mondays from 8 to 10 as well. So
There we go.
get the alarm on.
Yes, 3 days a week.
Monday, Friday and Saturday. So I'm delighted. And I want to thank everyone for the support, especially the people at Tab Touch, but for all the listeners and interaction, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, thanks to the support of Tab Touch. They've been great supporters of the Tab Touch Lounge. I think when Declan and Tab Touch presented the case to SEN, Friday was always going to be a bit of an experiment. No doubt it's grown, as you mentioned, over a year on a Friday morning. And then we've branched down just recently, the last few months, into Saturday morning between 9 and 11. And we'll wrap it all up now on a Monday morning between 8 and 10. Following Gilly and Goss. So very excited about that. So the Tab Touch Lounge now 3 days a week. As of this week, this morning, tomorrow morning, and Monday morning. Well done, Deck. And thanks to everybody at Tab Touch and Racing and Wagering. Great supporters here.
And we'll obviously be talking to Shorty after the break, but Shorty's a large part of that now. So let's, I'm really keen to talk about tonight and the games and with Shorty and get the prices. A very interesting 2 games.
Yeah, and not forgetting also, Sunday afternoon is going to be a big venture here. Again, the precinct will be locked down. We've got the All Blacks taking on the Wallabies in Game 3 of the Bledisloe Cup, and they'll be hanging from the rafters.
Yep.
It'll be an AFL Grand Final crowd here on Sunday afternoon. I think tickets already 55,000 plus have been sold here. So there's more tickets sold to the Bledisloe that there has been certainly for the game tonight. Tonight we're probably looking around about 40,000, which will be a good crowd considering it's a non-Perth team involved in this game of footy.
Oh, I think everyone in football's got to be delighted with it, and I agree with you. I think it'll be 40 plus. Speaking of Bledisloe, the Kiwis love their Bledisloe, and I know after 9 o'clock we'll be talking. We've got a network, as you know, SENZ across there in New Zealand, and a very well-known broadcaster, Ricardo Ball, will be having a chat to us about all things Kiwi, the All Blacks machine, and how they're looking forward to Bledisloe on Sunday.
Very good. So a big program coming up, and of course you can get involved through SEN Track 657 on the Tab Touch Lounge. The text line 0487 736 736. Are you coming to the game tonight? If you are, how excited are you about it? And let's get you involved. 0487 736 736 here on the Tab Touch Lounge.
And whilst you text, just have a look at your Tab Touch app. Down the bottom right-hand corner is more. Have a look at Scott Embry's very comprehensive Saturday preview of Belmont. Text a code word to us, and we'll give you you're in the chance to win a $50 Tab Touch voucher for your troubles.
Okay, go to it. 0487 736 736. It's 13 past 8 here on the Tab Touch Lounge. With Tab Touch, the race starts when the bet's on. Tab Touch, better your bet. Gamble responsibly. Call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858. David Short joins us after the break. Great to have you company. 17 past 8 on this Friday morning. Leaden skies at the moment, but no more rain, they reckon, until maybe mid-late next week, which is terrific as spring is in the air and certainly football finals fever is in the air, particularly here in Perth, Western Australia, and certainly feeling it and getting quite excited about it is David Shaw from Tab Touch, and he joins us on the program this morning. Shorty, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Pete, Deck, everyone tuned into the Tab Touch Lounge. Really nice to be with you, and I am very excited about the footy this weekend. Obviously tonight, a great opportunity for local footy fans to get caught up in AFL finals fever, and despite there being no local sides left in the comp, there's still some excellent footy to be played, and I think the Cats and the Giants will put on a great show for the punters that are heading there to the game tonight, that's for sure and certain.
Well, Deck was just saying he's already had inquiries about people wanting a couple of grand final tickets. What about you? You'll be right?
I've had plenty of people inquiring as to what they can get their hands on, and I'm afraid I've told all of them you've got very little hope of getting your mitts on anything. Unfortunately, it's going to be fever pitch. They're going to be rare as hen's teeth, and good luck to everybody that does get the opportunity to get along to the grand final. But the upside and the beauty of having it in your state, guys, is that even if you can't get to the game itself, obviously there'll be a grand final parade on the Friday. There'll be other festivities that sort of surround the grand final itself. So even if you don't get to the big game, there'll be plenty going on around town and a great chance to still feel a part of it.
Yeah, and I reckon what they'll also do, and they do it in Melbourne. I know when Richmond were in the grand final, had the big screen next door there at Punt Road, and they have the big screen there at Federation Square. I reckon there'll be some big gatherings of people in front of big screens. There might be another screen placed out here at the Optus precinct. There's a lot of grassed areas, maybe down on the river, towards the river area, down that bottom end. So don't be surprised that they try and put up a couple of pop-up screens very close here to Optus Stadium so people can really get the feel of the AFL Grand Final.
100% right. I'll be staggered if there's not a stack of pop-up venues that get right behind it, and especially somewhere near the venue, because it really does help to create that sort of precinct where people can get along to and really feel the vibe and the atmosphere of the grand final day itself.
Absolutely. And Shorty, I can't let today go without saying well done last week. We got in by the skin of our teeth, but we got in. We all had a pep talk from Anthony from Bayswater Mazda, who can't come in this morning because he's very busy down there selling cars. But it was wonderful to get back on track with a win. GWS by a point, and obviously Melbourne doing it comfortably. So well done on that for last week's Shorty's multi.
That was nice. There's barely a fingernail left on the mitts after watching that last sort of 7 or 8 minutes of the GWS Sydney clash. I thought that we're probably a bit lucky to get over the line in the end. I expected GWS to win a little more easily than what they did there. The problem they had, they just went into safety sort of mechanism and stopped trying to score. And when you do that, it's very, very easy for the opposition to get a couple of turnovers, go bang, bang, and get a bit of momentum up. And that's exactly what Sydney had. But fortunately for us, they didn't have their kicking boots with them, and the Giants stayed alive.
Yeah, they should have really iced at Sydney. 2-7 in the final term. A couple of those were pretty easy shots in front of goals. But that's history now. GWS are here. Toby Green's here, but he can't do much. All he do is be support for his teammates. What did you make of it, Shorty? A couple of the big issues during the week. Toby Green, of course, your former coach, Ross Lyon, has decided to pull the pin on Carlton, or certainly going through the process with the Blues for that coaching position. What about Toby Green? Were you comfortable with the 3-match suspension?
Well, I don't know if I was comfortable. I think there's probably potential for a little longer even. just disappointing, complete brain fade. And unfortunately with him, it's not isolated. He's a wonderful footballer. He's a great entertainer, but unfortunately he's not always the best citizen out on the park. He's done some silly things throughout the course of his career, and that was certainly another example of it there last weekend. And what he has done is, as good as he was to help get his top side over the line last week, he's completely let them down going into this, just something that didn't need to be done. They're now going to be minus his services in their biggest game of the year. And to be quite honest, the Giants are a significantly better team when he's out on the park. He's that barometer for them. He sparks them up when they're flat. He kicks, in big games regularly, 3, 4, 5 goals. There's no replacing him. It's as simple as that. And we spoke about how flat they looked the last 8 to 10 minutes of that game against Sydney last week. I think Geelong head in here breathing fire. They're a club that have disappointed in week 1 of the finals, but most times they bounce back big time in week 2, and I think they'll get the job done there tonight. I think they'll win and win really well against the Giants outfit, who will absolutely miss Toby Green big time in this clash tonight. Pete, what did you and Deck make of it? I thought it was just a disappointing brain fade.
Oh, but his track record, like his misdemeanors, go back to 2012. Shorty, I reckon there's not a season that hasn't gone past where Toby Green hasn't been up before the match review officer or even the tribunal 2 or 3 times a season. You look at his track record, for whatever reason, he just loses it. And there's moments there that are unexplainable why he does what he does. He's been pulled up for eye gouging. He's been pulled up now for clashing with the umpire. He's been pulled up for, some unnecessary elbows. One was, of course, to the throat of Patrick Dangerfield where, he was sort of let off to a certain degree. But I don't know what it is. But there's some players, for whatever reason, they just lose it when they're out on the ground and the circumstances around a certain situation, and Toby Green's one of those players. And there's been other players like that in past, hasn't there, Shorty? For whatever reason, they have brain fades when they're out on the ground, yet you take them away from the theatre of play, and they seem really down-to-earth, decent human beings.
That one's very hard to defend. He had to go, and I agree with the AFL. I mean, I heard some people screaming for 12 weeks, ridiculous. But 3 is too lenient. Shorty, your boys play junior football. The connotation here or the repercussions could easily be the young bloke seeing this and, these umpires who get abused anyway, and referees in other sports, umpires and footy, you can't have anyone touching and being aggressive towards it, and it's just plain wrong. So I'm glad the AFL's appealing, and there should be a stiffer sentence for the action that Toby Green, great footballer, but totally crossed the line last Saturday.
Yeah, 100% right. This is an issue that it transcends just the AFL itself. It does drop down to lower grades, and not just junior football, but amateur football and the like, where sometimes already it can be challenging trying to encourage guys to go into the field of umpiring. And you need to make it more appealing, not less appealing. And by having players, at the ultimate level, manhandling umpires. And look, it's not like his shirt fronted him and sent him through to next week, but that's besides the point. You're not to make any contact with the umpire. And, where does it start and end? It looked like it was relatively gentle on the way through and the umpire wasn't threatened. But all of a sudden then, every time that this happens at any league, at any level around Australia, you then have the situation where you're having very, very significant tribunal hearings and people are then, going on what happened days before without. In this instance, we've got vision, but at the lower levels, you wouldn't have vision. So it gets back to he said, she said style environments. The best way to deal with it is just nip it in the bud, let everybody know it's completely unacceptable, and let's move on and try and make the game a little easier for the umpires, boys. It's not something that I'd like to do, but we need to encourage umpires to be a part of the game. Without them, it makes for a pretty tricky lineup. Having respective dads or mums from the different teams trying to go and coach, and then the old bias comes into it. So I think we need to encourage umpires wherever we can.
All right, Shorty, let's look at the markets on Tab Touch for the 2 semi-finals this weekend. Of course, there's also the Brownlow medal and the Premiership market. See that Western Bulldogs captain Marcus Bontempelli's Brownlow odds continue to firm. He took out the coveted Lee Matthews Trophy last night at the AFL Players' Most Valuable Player Awards. In fact, he received 1,176 votes from his peers. Streets ahead of Carlton's Sam Walsh at 426 in second. And Tuke Miller, the veteran from the Gold Coast, 411. He was also voted by his peers as the best captain in the AFL, Marcus Bontempelli. So what's he looking like on the Brownlow medal market after winning the Players' Most Valuable Player award last night? And what about the markets for the two games this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Kicking off from a Brownlow perspective, it certainly got it down to basically a race in three: Ollie Wines, Bont and Clayton Oliver. Ollie Wines has been the big mover over the last probably month of the season. He finished off particularly well, was 450 into 275. Now, Bont got as short as about 215. He sort of drifted right out to 370. Last 3 weeks probably weren't ideal for him. You wouldn't see him polling strongly there, but up to that point, he might have enough of a buffer to hold on. Oliver's into $4 from around $8 about a month ago. Jack Steele at $9, Petrarca 13, Walsh at 19, Darcy Parish at 26 is $41 and upwards from there. The games this weekend, looking forward to both of them. I think tonight might be relatively straightforward. I really do think that Geelong will bounce back strong here. They go in at $1.37, GWS at $3.10. Line betting on the game sits at 16.5. I think the Cats are probably likely to cover that line. First goal scorer betting on the game tonight, Cameron at $7.50, Hawkins $8.50, Hogan at $10.12 for Rowan and Himmelberg, $15 and upwards from there, while the Saturday night final sees Brisbane $1.60, Western Bulldogs at $2.35. Line betting on that game a lot trimmer at 8.5 points. And again, first goal scorer betting, Charlie Cameron at $9.50, Norton 10, 11 for Waitman. He had a game last week, didn't he? 11 for Danaher, 14 for McCarthy and Bailey. It's 15 and upwards from there. That looks a trickier assignment, the Brisbane Bulldogs game. I think you can make a case for both sides there. Pretty keen that Geelong get the job done tonight, though, fellas.
Okay, 0487 736 736. That's the Tab Touch Lounge text line to get in the running for the $50 Tab Touch voucher. Deck, all you need to do is do this.
Just go to your Tab Touch app, bottom right-hand corner, more. Look at blogs, and on Scott Embry's Saturday preview of Belmont, there's a code word. Text us in, and you could be walking away this morning with a $50 voucher, Pete.
And the other thing I'd like people to get involved with, I've just seen a photo that's going to become one of the iconic sporting photos, I reckon. Have a look at it. It involves Australia's Vanessa Lowe at the Tokyo Paralympic Games last night in full flight on her way to a long jump gold medal last night, with the lights in the background at the stadium, of course, her at full tilt. It'll become one of the great iconic photos of Australian sport. Check it out if you can. Vanessa Lowe in great light there in the Olympic Stadium in the long jump. She got gold last night. It is a great pick. And maybe that's the other thing you can get involved with on 0487 736 736. If you're looking at great sporting photos and ones that resonate with you, maybe you can text us the ones that you hold in high regard when you think about sport and great moments in sport. We'll come back with David Short, Declan and Peter Vlahos. We're on the Tab Touch Lounge on this Friday morning as we build up to the big game here at Optus Stadium tonight between the Cats and the Giants. But in the meantime, let's pause for a moment and get the latest from the newsroom. Welcome back to the Tab Touch Lounge. Of course, with Tab Touch, the race starts when the bet's on. Tab Touch, better your bet. Gamble responsibly. Call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858. Now, there's no talking harness program on SEN track 657 this morning between 11 and 12 because we've got action at GP, a daytime meeting, David Short. I think it gets underway about 10 o'clock this morning, doesn't it?
Correct, yeah, early start. Obviously, with all the activity around the stadium later on today into tonight, they want to look after the welfare of the horses and don't want to get caught up in traffic and the like. So early kickoff with Gloucester Park, only about an hour and a half away from getting underway with the first race of the day, guys.
It'll be a busy precinct here today, boys, with across the bridge there, Gloucester Park's daytime, and the boys obviously having a well-earned day off, and then obviously to build up to the footy tonight. Shorty, before we talk about Brisbane and Melbourne, let's just get back to tonight's game. What do you like?
I'm pretty keen that Geelong will bounce back here. As I said, with Toby Green coming out, it's a massive blow for the Giants, who rely on him to spark up a lot of their activity forward of the ball. If they're struggling within a contest, he can I'll regularly give them a bit of a lift to get them back up and going. Tom Green out as well here. Sam Reid out injured. Geelong, I like the look of their team on paper. Radigalia comes back in. Tui comes back in. Their forward setup looks solid. Hawkins, Cameron, Rowan. As we said, it didn't go to plan for them last week, but they have had a knack of rebounding strong after a round one loss in the finals in recent years, and it may well be the case again here tonight. The Giants just, their midfield setup's going well. They can absolutely compete with Geelong through there, but I think forward to centre, Geelong will look to sharpen their act up, and I expect Hawkins and Cameron in particular to have really big nights in front of goal. I'd be pretty surprised if they both didn't kick 2 or 3, and watch out for some of their midfielders to sort of come in and play a part as well on the scoreboard. I'd expect Mitch Duncan, Paddy Dangerfield, Isaac Smith, those sorts of guys to sneak down and kick a goal or 2 as well throughout the course of this game tonight. I think the Cats have got the advantage through the middle. I think they've got the advantage up front, and I think they'll win pretty comfortably tonight. Giants, as we touched on that last quarter last week, they looked like they were just absolutely hanging on for grim death, and in the end they managed to sneak there. They got over the line, but I expect Geelong to have a class edge tonight and get the job done.
What do you think, Pete?
Yeah,
it's very skinny, $1.37. I'm just trying to make a case for my multi to see if I can just get some value. I don't disagree with Shorty, but just a bit of value with GWS that they show up tonight and it's not a one-sided game.
And they haven't played that well in a couple of times they've played here. I still recall back a season or so. It was last season they played Sydney here during the COVID situation. They kicked 3 goals, 7 for the match. A couple of their appearances here at Optus haven't been anything flash, so that weighs on my mind a bit. And I reckon Geelong, I want to answer a few critics as well. They want to win a finals game because their finals track record, as we know in recent times, hasn't been that flash. So, I'm going for Geelong, but also a special moment tonight, and he's doing it back home, even though he's been to Fremantle and prior that to Melbourne. Jesse Hogan plays his 100th AFL game today, or tonight. It's his 10th game for GWS, and he's done all right, Shorty, hasn't he? He's kicked 20 goals, an average of 2 goals a game, and I think Jesse has finally found his place, third time lucky, with the Giants, because he's playing some decent footy. And let's hope from his point of view tonight, in his 100th game of AFL footy, he kicks a couple of goals.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Look, I'm an unabashed fan of Jesse, and while it didn't work out at Fremantle, I love his intensity within a game of football. He hits the packs hard. He makes sure that there's a contest every time the ball's in and around him. And yeah, look, he's had a significant amount of issues. You can never live somebody else's life for them, and you never know exactly what they're going through. And being AFL footballers, they do cop a lot of scrutiny, and a lot of people like to think they know all about what their lives are like. You never know until you walk in somebody else's shoes. But one thing I'll give him enormous credit for is the fact that he's a great talent, and he's a real competitor. And he's been a big pickup for GWS. He seems to have played the best footy he has in a little while since putting the GWS Guernsey on. And good luck to him tonight in game 100.
He'll have plenty of our friends and family. Good morning to Neil Randall. I know he listens to the show, Pete and Shorty, and cheering him on tonight, and hopefully he can bag a few and give the Cats a run for the money. Big game tomorrow. I'm actually going to put it out there. I've been looking at this all week. I like the way the Bulldogs are coming back. I know it's a Brisbane home deck. Slight little bit of rain, but it'll be dry for the most part. I'm going to go to the Bulldogs tomorrow.
Yeah, they've got a few players out, Shorty, haven't they, the Lions? They've got a couple of big names that won't be playing tonight. And I think Bulldogs are still smarting a bit because they missed out on that top 4. Of course, Brisbane getting the West Coast Eagles right at the end to get that margin that got him into 4th place. Yeah, I'm leaning a bit towards the Bulldogs. I reckon they're keen to bounce back. They bounced back last week in pretty impressive fashion, with the opposition, I think, only kicking about 4 goals. So,
what's the latest prices, Shorty? Brisbane and Bulldogs tomorrow.
Other dogs are good value, boys. They're at $2.35. Brisbane at $1.60. Line betting on the game's just at 8.5 points. But look, as opposed to the other game where Geelong finished a fair way in front of where GWS did on the table, look, the Bulldogs, their last 3 weeks were rotten, but their form prior to that point had been very good. And importantly, they bounced back to their best football last week. For the majority of the season, there was less than a game between Brisbane and the Western Bulldogs on the table. So the banter in regards to the top 4 side always beats the bottom 4 side I put to one side in this instance because effectively there was nothing between them all year. And I think that argument falls over given how close the Bulldogs were to actually finishing top four anyway. Yes, Brisbane get home ground advantage here, but the Bulldogs get the Lions at the right time. They're banged up. They're missing key personnel. McStay coming out last week hurts them. Jackson Pryor comes out, Robertson and Payne in. The Dogs would have got enormous confidence out of this win last week. I thought they were very good. Their key players certainly stood up, and I think they needed to. There's a few of them through the middle of the ground that had been a bit off for that 3-week period where they dropped off late. Tom Liberatore in particular had been a little flat. I thought he was back to his brilliant best there last week. He was in and under, getting a lot of the tough football and then feeding it out to some of the out-wide runners. Lockie Hunter had a really good game. Josh Dunkley was good. Adam Treloar certainly was there and about the place again. So their key players got a bit of confidence back. McRae and Bontempelli, very good again. And up front, what about this young man, Cody Waitman? Hasn't he been a breath of fresh air up forward for the Dogs?
He knows how to get a free
real
kick.
Goer. Oh, he does, and he knows how to make the most of them when he gets them. More importantly, Pete, doesn't he? Because it's one thing to get them, but if you kick them out on the full or kick a point, you've wasted your chance. But he does know how to convert.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. So looking forward to that. It should be a beauty tomorrow up there at the Gabba.
Absolutely. So, Shorty, who do you think will take it out?
I'm with you guys. I think the Western Bulldogs can absolutely serve it up to Brisbane, and I've got this close to a flip of the coin job. And at the moment, there's 75 cents between them in the market. So anytime that's the case, if I assess them, close to bang on, and one of them's got a big edge in the marketplace, it's generally a pretty reasonable way to have a wager. And the doggies at the 235 are enough to tempt me for a play this weekend. That's for sure.
You better get on soon, boys, because with that endorsement, the price is going to plummet. Now, Shorty, if some of our punters want a speculative bet before either game tonight, what's the futures for who's going to take out the premiership as we speak before these games take place?
Well, boys, the market for most of the year, we've sort of sat around that $4 to $4.50 range the field. But obviously now we're down to the business end of proceedings and we're down to 6 teams. There has been a trim up, and Melbourne are the team that the bookies have decided deserve to be favourites. They're now into $2.60. On the second line, Port Adelaide at $3.60. Geelong at $6.09 for Brisbane. The Western Bulldogs at $10. And the Giants are a $19 outsider from here. But certainly Melbourne, impressive last week, and the bookies and punters alike have now installed them as the $2.60 favourites to win the flag from this point on.
Of course, and we'll see Melbourne here in the first preliminary final next Friday against the winner of Geelong or GWS. So we're looking forward to that. Shorty, let's just go to the NRL. It's the final round of home and away fixtures. We saw last night the Roosters too strong for the Raiders, 40-16. And then it really does crank up with the NRL finals. I'm looking forward to this. The Storm, the Panthers have been the pace setters all seasons. The Rabbitohs, one out, one back just behind them. But as we head into week 25 of the 25-round home and away season, what's the markets in the NRL?
Yeah, 4 o'clock game today sees Cronulla $3.20, Melbourne $1.35, and in the 6:05 match, it's Penrith hot at $1.4, 11 for Parramatta. Brisbane take on Newcastle, $2.15 for the Broncos, $1.71 the Knights. Manly $1.07 for their clash with North Queensland at $9. The Rabbitohs at $1.74 take on St George Illawarra at $2.10. Gold Coast $1.28. Up against New Zealand, $3.70. And the final game sees West at $1.45, Canterbury at $2.75. The market to win the NRL title from here, Melbourne Storm at $2.50, Penrith Panthers at $2.75, Manly at $7. The Rabbits out to $10 now, 26 for Parramatta, 41 for the Roosters at 67, and upwards from there.
Yeah, I think Latrell Mitchell's suspension has cost the Rabbits a big hope of maybe winning the premiership. That was he got it rubbed out for 6 weeks for that pretty brutal challenge on the Roosters players last weekend. Shorty, before we take the break and come back with all the racing, pacing and chasing, because there is a big day of racing tomorrow, Belmont and, of course, in particularly in the eastern states. We've got Ash Barty. She stormed in the third round of the US Open with a 6-1-7-5 victory over Danish teenager Clara Toussaint. The victory took Barty's 2021 record now to 42-7. year she has described to her fans as pretty good, and she's been in fine form, the number one seed in the women's draw for the US Open, the last Grand Slam of the year. What's the market looking like as we head deep into the first week there at Flushing Meadow?
Yeah, look, Ash is right up towards the top of the page in regards to tournament betting here. We see Naomi Osaka is the $4.25 favourite. Ash on the second line at $4.40. Then we're out to Sabalenka at $9, Krejcikova at $15, Pliskova at $15, Swiatek at $17, Muguruza at $21, and Halep at $21. From a men's perspective, heading forward, and here we see Djokovic at odds-on quoted at $1.72, Medvedev at $4.50, Zverev at $6, Tsitsipas at $15. It's $41 and upwards from there. But we'll be cheering hard for Ash Barty, hoping that she can take out the US Open this year. She's been pretty good in the first couple of games, guys, and she seems pretty upbeat. The post-game press conferences I've heard after both first and second round victories, she seems to be upbeat and right on top of her game.
Yes, and it's 10 years ago when the last Australian won at Flushing Meadow in New York, and that was Sam Stosur. She won the 2011 US Open women's singles title. So 10 years on, going to be another Queenslander in Ash Barty. It's 8:45, and of course you're here on the Tab Touch Lounge with Tab Touch. The race starts when the bet's on. Tab Touch, better your bet. Gamble responsibly. Call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858. No EPL this weekend, Declan, but there is the international break. And for those people that are unaware, the Socceroos started the third phase of their qualifying campaign, heading towards Qatar in 2022. A very comfortable and impressive 3-0 win over China in Doha this morning.
Yeah, it was a comprehensive win. China are no easy beats, and the Socceroos started very well. They now travel to Hanoi to play Vietnam, who lost 3-1 to Saudi Arabia. And in that group, boys, of the qualifiers from Asia, there was a boil over. A very star-studded Japan lost 1-0 to Oman. So, At home. So all looking good for the Socceroos as we head towards the World Cup next year in Qatar.
Yeah, looking forward to it in more ways than one. It's 14-9 here on the Tab Touch Lounge. As I mentioned, gamble responsibly, get involved, but call Gamblers Help if you need some assistance. 1-800-858-858. A big grand final is being staged tomorrow. Get the market on David Short's son's team's chances of taking off the premiership tomorrow. What's the name of the team, by the way, Shorty?
The Hurricanes, the Hammond Park Hurricanes.
The Hammond Park Hurricanes. Is the young fella getting excited?
Oh, very, yeah. No, I had training with the boys on Tuesday night and absolute fever pitch, the excitement levels. So I can't wait to get out there tomorrow morning.
Do they go in as favourites or underdogs?
No, they finished on top of the table, so they'll go in as the faves.
Oh, okay, just be careful. Make sure they don't get ahead of themselves, Shorty. We'll take a break, come back with more in a moment. It's 14-9 here on the Tab Touch Lounge. Yes, just repeating, no talking harness today with Mortz and Mick Radley between 11 and 12 because of the early start for the Gloucester Park meeting today. Gets underway at 10 o'clock. Shorty, before we get into all the racing action and what's happening at the Greyhounds in Mandurah and Cannington across the weekend, what about the Bledisloe Cup? Game 3 of that series, and we know that it's done and dusted with the All Blacks winning the first 2 games, but a lot of interest, and they'll be hanging from the rafters here at Optus Stadium. All the Kiwi supporters will be here, all the rugby supporters that know that this is one of the great series in the Southern Hemisphere, the Bledisloe Cup. What's it looking like? 2 o'clock it gets underway on Sunday afternoon right here.
Yeah, I hope the market's wrong here, boys, because it's got the All Blacks completely dominant at $1.13, $6 for the Aussies. Line betting at the -16.5 to win by 17 or more into $1.84 there. So punters expecting the All Blacks to win and win well. Australia to either win or get within 16 points of the All Blacks is out to $1.97. So all the money for the All Blacks to win and cover that line and win by 17 points or more.
Yes, first time a Bledisloe Cup match has been played during the day since 1996. All the matches are played under lights at night, but 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon, the first time a Bledisloe Cup match has been played in the daytime, as I mentioned, since 1996, which is a fair time ago. All right, let's look at racing. I know we've got a feature race. I think it may be race 8 here at Belmont Park tomorrow, but all the interest and a lot of interest in what's happening on the East Coast. Give us a full wrap, Shorty.
Indeed, Pete, you're right. The local feature is race number 8, the Jolly Beggar Stakes, and all the money's been for IC Red there. Open at $3.50, now into $2.40.
Are they owned by Kiwis? Are they owned by Kiwis?
I'm not too sure.
I just think IC Red. Yeah, exactly. I thought it might be taken from the Split Ends track. Hey?
We knew he'd get
the music
Shorty.
It's always there, Deck.
I can't even get a bet on Tab Touch with this. It's just unbackable. I'm sitting here waiting for your preview of what's coming up at Belmont and across the country, and the Vlahosky is getting in Split Ends.
Let me also say you're a man that's very well regarded in the industry from a sales point of view as well. Never let an opportunity pass.
That's true.
Okay, back to you, Shorty. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem at all. It could be a nice push for IC Red there if everything lines up for the Split End fans to get involved there tomorrow. Great racing in Sydney. We see the return of some very nice types here. The very talented Nature Strip. $1.60 favourite in the Group 3 Concord. $4.40 for Wild Ruler. Trekking at $6.50. It's $15 and upwards. The rest, the one horse I'm looking forward to most tomorrow anywhere in Australia goes around race 7 at Randwick. It's in the Group 2 Tramway Stakes, and this horse has been truckloaded. Opened at $2.40. That's when I wanted to have a bet. It's now into $1.95. Zaki, look, this fellow, he is the real deal. He's our current Cox Plate favourite, and he's all the money is with him tomorrow. I think he'll be making a winning return, and I think he'll be the star of the spring. We can get around him. Race 7, number 1, Zaki, will be winning tomorrow. Punters, $2.40 into $1.95. The star bet of the day. The other horse we can have something on is Cascadian in race number 8, the Group 2 Chelmsford Stakes. Really flashy type, big white blaze, and truckloaded from when the market's open. $4.60 into $3 now, Cascadian. Really heavily commissioned. Think it over on the second line, $4.60 to $4.80. It's been money for Kukaracha at longer odds, 11 into 8, and she's ideal, 5 out to 8. But Cascadian, really hard to beat, but the best bet anywhere I would have thought is Zaki. Good racing at Moonee Valley as well. Stacks of group races on the program there. Having a look at race number 8, the Group 2 Fian Stakes. West Aussie Superstorm, the co-favourite with Elephant. They're both at $5. Sierra Sue at $6. $9.50 for the Chosen One. And earlier in the day, the Group 2 McEwen Stakes. Portland Sky at $2.75. September Run $3.40, $5.50, and upwards from there.
Of course, well, Mortz and Mickey will have all the selections on the Tab Touch platform for GP this morning. Gets underway at 10 o'clock, Shorty. Just a quick comment on that. And then, of course, what's happening at Mandurah and Cannington across the weekend?
Yes, certainly, boys. As you touched on, if you do like to have a punt at Gloucester Park, you need to be having your account up and running from nice and early, because 2 minutes past 10 this morning is when the first race takes place there. It's a 10-race card with the last taking place at 3:13 this afternoon. Some really good races throughout the course of the day for the punters to get involved with, and I would expect that we'll have some really nice results with some good horses going around throughout the course of that day. The feature, the Group 3 Tab Touch York Cup. Minstrel's been well backed into $1.75 there. Magnificent Storm at $2.05. Then we're right out to $9.50 about Alta Blues. But effectively a match race between Minstrel and Magnificent Storm. Race 8, the Tab Touch York Cup at Group 3 level. The feature there at Gloucester Park later on this afternoon. Locally from the world of greyhound racing, good programs at Mandurah tonight as well as Cannington on Saturday night. Better bets for tonight there at Mandurah. I thought race 6, number 8, West on True. The dropping grades are key here. Probably prefer to see it drawn a little closer to the inside, but the drop from 3 to all to grade 4 just needs a safe getaway from there. Can be right there in the finish. Race 6, number 8, West on True. Race 7, number 7, Stanger Moose. So this fellow just keeps fronting up and winning at the moment. He's been airborne in these free-for-alls. He's got the picket fence form next to his name. I think that can continue. Race 7, number 7, Stanger Moose. And race 10, number 3, Westdale Nikita. It's won her last couple of starts, both from box 3. Comes up with box 3 again in the same grade of race. No reason why it won't be bringing up the hat trick tonight. I wouldn't have thought. Race 6, number 8, race 7, number 7, race 10, number 3 tonight at Mandurah, and then on to Saturday night at Cannington. Late in the programs where I'll be getting involved, we've got 2 heats of the spring gift races, 4 and 5 as the major races. I thought race 8, number 1's the first of the nice bets, Destruction. This greyhound's won its last 2 starts at Mandurah in really hot times, 22.33, 22.34. I think repeat of that sees it holding up from the inside and leading all the way. Race 8, number 1. We then go to race 9, number 6, We the People. Very talented stay, great record over this trip. Race 9, number 6, should be winning We the People. And race 10, number 7, Winburn Burner, likes an outside draw, will be strong to the line, looks a solid play. Race 10, number 7. In recap, Saturday night, race 8, number 1, race 9, number 6, race 10, number 7.
Fantastic, Shorty, and we did well last weekend in relation to the multi for Inner Ninja. Let's have a look at David Short's multi this weekend. All hands and pens to the ready. Jot them down. Shorty, what have you got for us on this Friday morning?
I've got a mixed multi this weekend, guys. So we're going to the footy tonight. I'm keen that Geelong will win and win well. So we'll take them at the line, minus 16.5 to win by 17 points or more tonight. Geelong to win by 17 or more. And then tomorrow at the races, I think this horse you'll find will be the star of the spring, Zaki. So good up there in Brisbane throughout the course of the winter. That's Sydney, race 7, number 1, Zaki, 240 into 195 now. So it's been really well backed. But you take the two together, $3.70, the multi this weekend. And I expect Zaki to win and win in fine style. I think Geelong will win really comfortably tonight. Hopefully we can turn our $3.70 over many times into some fat results for the listeners for this weekend, fellas.
Well done, Shorty. I can feel, boys, we're on a roll. We'll get the authorisation from Anthony after the 9 o'clock news. But Shorty, I'm hearing the confidence oozing out of you. Happy punting for the weekend, and thanks once again this morning.
And good luck tomorrow, Shorty, with the Hammond Park Hurricanes.
Absolutely.
I know you're taking a few days off. Enjoy it, mate, and we'll catch you next time here on the Tab Touch Lounge.
Yeah, absolutely, boys. Toot, toot, go the cane train.
Good on you. Good on you. David Short from Tab Touch. And, of course, Tab Touch, the race starts when the bet's on. Tab Touch, better your bet. Gamble responsibly. If you need some assistance, call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858. We'll take a break. The news is coming up and then back with more right here on the Tab Touch Lounge. Great to have your company here on the Tab Touch Lounge. And if you're heading to Optus Stadium tonight to see the Cats and the Giants, remember you can listen to the SEM Stadium call. Download the SEN app and listen play-by-play with no delay. Look forward to your company. Tim Gossage, Paul Hazelby and yours truly will bring you coverage of the match between the Cats and GWS. If you choose to listen on the SEN Stadium call, as I said, all you need to do is download the SEN app and you can listen to it play-by-play with no delay, like the good old days when you used to take your transistor radio to listen to the WAFL that I used to. You used to have it to your ear and you could follow the play. Frank Sparrow used to call it, Percy Johnson, George Griljasic, all these guys. But then, of course, with the digital age, it all went out of whack.
Yeah, but as we've said many times, especially about the WAFL, Peter, me included, whilst a lot of people may not go to the games, there's still a hell of a lot of interest in it. And it's coming up to the business end of that season as well.
That's right. And Jimmy Williams is going to take over on the Tab Touch Lounge around about 9:30 for the final half hour. Unfortunately, I've got a commitment at 10 o'clock. I need to pay my respects to an individual that left us recently. So Jimmy will come in at 9:30 this morning. And I know you're going to touch in on the WAFL. He's all prepared. He's got the kit. He's got the West Perth Football Club tracksuit on. So he's ready to talk waffle with you after 9:30 plus all other sports. And he'll probably talk a bit of American sport as well, Dex, so make sure you cross that.
Don't worry about that, Peter. With the exception of East Perth and East Fremantle, who are not playing this weekend, there is 5 games to wrap it up. And then I'm going to be educated because I want to hear about not just West Perth. I want to hear about the 5 teams that have obviously cemented our spot in the finals. It could juggle around for 2nd, 3rd and 4th this week, depending on results. But first of all, how the games will go this weekend. And then as we lead into the finals, just a little bit of a feeling. And Jimmy knows everything about waffle, about each club.
Okay, so we look forward to having Jimmy join us in around about 20 minutes' time. Just a couple of things regarding the WAFL. Your thoughts on the Perth Glory sharing initially their facilities with the South Fremantle Football Club before taking up more permanent tenure in the old Fremantle Dockers set up there at Fremantle Oval?
a bit surprised. I can understand.
I thought they might have been heading towards Joondalup, actually.
You said that, and that would have made sense. Hopefully, I mean, the Southern Corridor there, a lot of potential and current round ball fans. South Fremantle obviously see it as a business venture and sharing facilities and sharing costs. So I'll sit on the fence on that, and I wish them all the best, obviously, Glory, and new administration home. So it'll be interesting to see how they share the facilities and how it all works out. But
and they signed a couple of young players during the course of the week. So they're bolstering their squad.
Yeah, they're coming along slowly but surely. I think people will be, Glory fans should be happy with, the checkbook is not going to come out in this day and age. And, you know, without Tony Sage's money, we've said this before, there would not be a current Perth Glory. Not everyone agrees with his decisions, but in this day and age, we're still very unsure about covert and crowds and everything. We've got to be positive as we go forward, but there's still a lot of unknown. There's going to be a lot of the young players that you and I broadcast last year and really were exciting have been re-signed. There'll be a sprinkling of experienced players already there. Andy Keogh, we'll see what happens with Castro, but I expect he'll stay. And then a lot of youngsters. So it'll be a young side, but the crowds have been crying out for that for a long time. The days of big marquee signings, Pete, you can't compete with the Melbourne Victories, the Western Sydney Wanderers. There's big backers there, multiple backers. So I think we've got to be optimistic about Glory. Youth, it'll be exciting. It'll be a roller coaster, and we should all get behind them.
Bad news regarding Carlo Amiento, who did, I think, his ACL. Yeah. So he's out for an extended period of time. He's one of those young players that I think can excite at times and scores goals for the Glory. So there you go.
Yeah,
we wish him a speedy recovery.
Of course we do, yeah. Shocking injury to get, but it happens in sport. Now, we heard earlier, and we spoke to Shorty about it. I know everyone focuses for individual awards on the Brownlow and the tradition. But I know in soccer, Peter, or the world game of football, you know, the Players' Player of the Award is a very coveted award. Yeah. It's nothing like getting it from your peers.
Can I just interrupt there?
Of course.
And I believe, listening to a couple of experts last night, that the players revere the award that Marcus Bontempelli got last night, the most valuable player from his peers, is probably a bigger endorsement than the Brownlow medal itself.
Yeah.
The players revere the MVP more than the Brownlow.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly where I was going. It's an award that sort of slips through. I understand this year it's getting lost in everything else. But make no mistake, and Bontempelli, great choice. I was a little bit surprised he was chosen as captain with the year that Max Gawn's had, but the players have voted for it. You ask any player, that's the award you want. And in the UK, there's a football writers, which is equivalent, I suppose, to the umpires voting here. Yes, you'd love to get it, but the Players' Player of the Year award is very much coveted, even at local levels. If your peers vote for you, as opposed to any award, is a wonderful award to get. So it's worth noting. I'm always surprised that it goes down the pecking order. And the saga, and I know we've got a lot of Carlton fans who touch base with us on a regular basis, they must be just shaking their heads. I mean, it just continues to be a circus. My mail is, but it hasn't been great mail, because with Carlton, who knows? I think one Brad Scott will certainly now be back in the frame.
Well, if they go down the line of winning an experienced campaigner...
They're not going down the line.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well done. Well picked up. But if they want somebody, initially, as they were saying, we want someone experienced, about someone with a profile, then all of a sudden Brad Scott goes into the frame. But if they're now looking at also the next tier of assistant coaches with what Collingwood did by announcing Craig McRae during the course of the week after a 15-year apprenticeship, maybe that's another option for them. But who knows? It's all over the place.
You know what? I am a Collingwood fan, and I'm more than, not happy, but more than willing at times to call them out when things don't go well at that club or they do things wrong. And they've made lots of mistakes this year, especially from a public relations perspective. But the process that they carried out for the coach, I know from social media and talking to a lot of people, very optimistic about the coaching appointments at Collingwood. And more importantly, I think from the bigger picture, they seemed and they did do a thorough process and handle it very well, as opposed to what circus act that's going on at Carlton.
Interesting. And be also interesting to see, as we know, Robert Harvey, we've mentioned that he looks like could parachute into the West Coast Eagles as an assistant coach. He has stepped down as an assistant coach at Collingwood with the appointment of Craig McRae as well. So all of a sudden, Robert Harvey is available as well. Will he go for the Carlton job? Who knows? But there has been talk, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, that he could possibly end up at the West Coast Eagles as well.
So there's certainly going to be, there already has been some changes at assistant coach level at Eagles. So there will be...
Yeah, Adrian Hickmott's gone, and there's talk that Jamie Graham is going to leave. He'll look at other opportunities after a 9-year tenure there at West Coast. So there'll be some movements in the assistant coaching ranks for sure.
Yeah, I'm not surprised there's been changes. Who I didn't know, and I'm just hearing it as it's coming out this week. But I think you need to have, we've talked about coaches and ages and everything else. You know, you've got to refresh your list, but you've also got to refresh your coaching and just get fresh voices in at times. Yeah. And especially after the year that the Eagles had. So not surprised at all.
We'll take a break. We're going to go back to the Bledisloe. In fact, we're going to one of our chief commentators from SENZ, not Z, SENZ, after the break. Well, this young generation, they pick up the American lingo. Anyway, we're going to take a break, come back with more and do a bit of a preview of what's going to be a big event on Sunday afternoon here at Optus Stadium. The Wallabies against the All Blacks. It's 9:15, right here on the Tab Touch Lounge. And, of course, with Tab Touch, the race starts when the bet's on. Tab Touch, better your bet. Gamble responsibly. Call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858. Well, a couple of months ago, SEN broadened its charter by unveiling SENZ through New Zealand, when, of course, the studio's based in Auckland. Ricardo Ball is one of the SENZ announcers. As we know, the All Blacks are here in Perth. They finally got here after delaying it by a week, but they're here. And we've got the big Bledisloe Cup, the third match being played between the Wallabies and the All Blacks Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. In the afternoon, which would be 6 p.m. Sunday night in NZ, and they'll all be watching, including Ricardo Ball from SENZ. Ricardo, thanks for joining us here in Perth.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Great to be on.
Well, will you be watching the All Blacks at 6 o'clock your time on a Sunday night, live here from Optus Stadium in Western Australia?
I definitely will be, yeah. I'm actually going to be working. I'm going to be in studio in New Zealand with Steve Devine, the former All Black halfback, and we're going to be watching and commenting on the match and taking calls and giving some analysis throughout the game. So that's going to be my job Sunday evening.
Yeah, good afternoon. Your time, Ricardo. It's Declan here. Thank you for your time. Can you give us any hope here? We're looking at the latest betting odds here, and your All Blacks are $1.13 and the poor old Wallabies are $6. Is there any chance you might take your foot off the pedal and give the Wallabies a chance this Sunday?
Well, there is an All Black baby boom on at the moment, Declan, and that might play in your favour. So our halves combination from the first two Bledisloes aren't going to be there, Aaron Smith and Richie Mwanga, and also Sam Whitelock, who has captained the All Blacks, of course, in the locking position. So there's three changes that are going to have to be made, and it's Bowden Barrett's coming in from Mwanga. I think that's pretty certain. Probably TJ Perenara at halfback, and then a coin flip between Patrick Tuipulotu or Scott Barrett in the locks. Outside of that, I don't know how many more changes they will make. We might see maybe Geordie Barrett get a run at fullback, and that would push Damien McKenzie to the bench. And Anton Leonard-Brown, who played in the first Bledisloe but was injured for the second, is fit again. So he might come back into the midfield and push Rieko Ioane back to the left wing. But it's interesting that you asked that, because John Plumtree, the All Blacks assistant coach, was talking to us during the week, and it was asked about changes, and he said, well, they learnt from last year. I don't know if you remember, but the All Blacks tailed your boys up in Sydney 43-5, and then they made 10 changes, and the next week lost 24-22. So I think they've learned a lesson. So I don't know that there's going to be too many changes. But that said, those odds that you were talking about are interesting, because the first Bledisloe, the All Blacks were paying $1.03 over here, and the Wallabies were paying, I think, $8. And I thought that the way that test ended, it would mean that we would have a market closer to what we've got now. But when the market came out for the second test, your boys had blown out again, and the All Blacks were in at about $1.02. So, I'm not sure what the bookies were getting on there, but it's interesting. I think it will be a weaker All Black team because of those absences, but I don't know if the Wallabies can strengthen any. If from an All Black point of view, our biggest worry is that Hunter Paisami isn't playing, because without his cutout passes, I don't know where we're going to get all our tries from.
Well, it's a full house here, so there's plenty of interest, apart from the expats, Kiwis, the Aussies. So it's great to see in this brand new stadium. It'll be a full house. We had a poll a couple of weeks ago, Ricardo, and we were just asking about great world teams from all codes of sport. And the All Blacks came out on top as just the best team. People look at your All Blacks with envy, and I've been lucky enough to travel to your beautiful country. What is it about the All Blacks that just everybody, even if you're not a massive sports lover, is so proud and gets behind it?
It is, yeah, you're right. I was talking to your producer before we came on air, and I said you can't live in New Zealand and not be an All Blacks fan. Even if you're not a sport fan, as you say, it's like it leaches into you by osmosis. It's just part of the DNA over here. Everybody gets into it. You know, people, mother-in-laws that don't really care about sport one way or another. If the All Black test's on, they want to know what's going on. So, yeah, I think it's woven into the DNA. I mean, we don't have AFL here. It's not big. Rugby league is a second cousin to rugby union over here, much like football and basketball are as well. So everything that you see growing up, it's the All Blacks. You know, it's on the All Blacks are on your Weet-Bix packets. You get the player stat cards and the Weet-Bix packets, that sort of thing. They're on the TV all the time, the former All Blacks. So the All Blacks are just part of New Zealand culture, and it's something that you can't get away from. And I think that's probably the biggest part of it. And that black jersey, the silver fern, I mean, it's an iconic image. And, you know, we see lots of overseas touring artists, musicians and things who don that black jersey as well. They love it. They come here, they buy them, or they're gifted them by the record companies and things, and you often see them on stage around the world wearing them. So it's a bigger reach even than just our shores.
Yeah, interesting. In the old days, though, and again, people were telling me that they used to go to the rural areas of New Zealand and look at the farmers and look at their physique and say, I reckon we could turn this player into an All Black because of his physique and his strength. How do they replenish the stocks? Does it come from the next tier under international football, as you term it there? Or what is the recruiting process, do you think, that keeps the All Blacks up there at the top of the rugby poll year in, year out?
It's changed a bit, Peter, as you can probably imagine. But the All Blacks, the rugby system in New Zealand is tiered. So you've got the All Blacks at the top, and then underneath that you have Super Rugby, of course, and underneath that we have what we call the NPC, the National Provincial Championship, which is Auckland and Canterbury and Waikato and Bay of Plenty and all those regions, and they're all feeders into the Super Rugby. So you've got 16 unions that feed in to the 5 Super Rugby franchises that feed into the All Blacks. And then underneath that, you've got a really good high school system. So like I said, we don't have the same issue that maybe Australian rugby does, where the rugby league scouts are at all your schoolboy tournaments and handpicking the talent. That talent stays in rugby here, and it stays in the schools. So basically, from when you're about 13 in New Zealand, you can't play rugby for a club. You have to play for your school, and it's all run through the school system. And all those school matches are televised here. We have First 15 rugby on the TV, on Sky Sports, etc., all the time. And those guys now are feeding basically straight out of high school rugby, you know, at about 17, 18, and into those NPC squads. And then they might spend 2 or 3 seasons in the NPC, and then they're into the Super Rugby. And it just continues to go. It's a real conveyor belt.
Well, I think we've got to pay homage to New Zealand, because across all sports, you constantly bat above your average. And, the All Blacks are obviously the showcase of all that. But I think across many sports, New Zealand continues to do very well.
Their cricket team's been outstanding in the last year or so under Kane Williamson. I gather cricket's had a bit of a fill-up too after what you've achieved.
Yes, very much so. You know, to be the World Test champions, I don't think it's something that New Zealand cricket fans ever thought would happen. And, it's been a pleasant surprise. And that's been, I know we talk about Kane Williamson and how that's been in the last year or two, but Peter, if you really look back, this started under Brendan McCullum, and it was just a mind shift change from what had happened previously. It was more attacking mindset. It was more about trying to get a result and sort of rolling the dice a bit more. And Brendan McCullum is now the captain of the SENZ team back here in New Zealand. He's of our breakfast show, and he's very much about roll the dice, take a punt, have a crack, try and get the result. And I think that has come through. And that has led New Zealand to be in places where we wouldn't normally have been, and making those decisions has certainly helped. We're playing more of attacking brand of cricket, and that's superb. So I think Macca has a lot to do with that, and Kane learned his craft under Brendan McCullum, and it's gone knock on, and to here we are now, where you look at that England-India series, for example, or you look at the Ashes. And normally, cricket fans here are going, man, I wish we could be involved in that. But, hey, we've beaten all of those teams except yours, basically, in recent time in Test cricket. And we're the World Test champions, which still takes some believing, to be honest. We have to keep repeating it to ourselves because it's still sinking in.
No, outstanding. Ricardo, thanks for joining us. We'll keep in touch here on SENWA with all our friends at SENZ. Enjoy the weekend and enjoy the Bledisloe Cup Match 3, 6 o'clock your time on Sunday night, live here from where we broadcast at Optus Stadium. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, and thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Ricardo.
Ricardo Ball at 9:29. As I said, I'll need to vacate now. We've got news headlines coming up. And, of course, after news headlines, it'll be the Jimmy and Declan show right here on the Tab Touch Lounge. Now, Jimmy, you just need to read that a couple of times in the next half hour, okay?
What's that?
With Tab Touch, the race starts when the bet's on. We've got to look after Tab Touch. They better your bet. Gamble responsibly. Call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858. So there's the script. I'm just handing it over to you.
Right. Beautiful.
You're in the station's in very good hands with Jimmy.
Is.
So we'll be fine.
He's just got to change his attire.
No, it won't all be about West Perth, I promise you. When we come back after news headlines, we'll be talking all things waffle, and we're going to get a comprehensive review of what's about to transpire in the coming weeks, waffle-wise.
And I'll be listening as I drive up the Mitchell Freeway up to Pinaroo. Okay, have a great last half hour, and I'll see you tomorrow morning from 9 on the Saturday edition of the Tab Touch Lounge. Here's the news.
Welcome back to the Tab Touch Lounge. Friday edition, 27 minutes to 10 on a cool 11 degrees here in Optus Stadium, Jimmy. And I thought what we do now, with Pete having to vacate the seat, you're the waffle expert.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, Deck. Wouldn't go that far.
It's the final round this week. I'm one person who loves my waffle, but I'm not studying all the teams. I keep an eye on. I'm an East Fremantle boy from a long time ago. They've played their final game. East Perth played their final game. So we got 4 fixtures this week. And then the 5 has sort of been decided for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So looking at these games, Claremont and Swan Districts, is there a lot to play for still, is my first question.
There's always something to play for.
Yeah.
There's always something to play for. And
the
Claremont,
5 can change around?
It can. It would need to be some large margins that would have to take place. So last week, West Perth shot themselves in the foot with that loss to East Fremantle. It basically means it's going to be a real stretch for them to finish in the 3 now, because you would think Claremont would take care of Swans. But if they don't, and West Perth can get a massive win over Perth, there's a chance they can go back into the top 3. But we're talking 9.82% that's got to swap around.
Yep.
So Claremont in the box seat to finish top 3. At the moment, ladder as it stands, Subiaco in first place. And if they lose to Peel, which you're probably assuming they won't, and I'm assuming they probably won't as well, there's a chance that top spot can swap around too, because there's 3.20% between South Fremantle and Subi. So if they lose, South Fremantle playing the Eagles, the Waffle Eagles, pardon me. So if for some reason Subiaco don't rock up, there's a chance that could swap around too. But I reckon the 5 as it is, I think it will stay.
So how does the connotation work with the top 5, the double chance, etc.? How does that all work out?
Top 5 final system, Subiaco will get the week off.
Yep.
Second will play third in a qualifying final, if you like. I'm not sure if that's the exact term, but they get a double chance.
Yes.
Whereas 4th and 5th is a knockout game. So that's what I mean when I say West Perth have shot themselves in the foot by losing to East Fremantle last weekend, a game that they were probably expected to win. It means they'll probably finish 4th. They will play Swan Districts. Well, West Perth might not play them if there is a switch, but it's likely that they will play the Swan Districts in that elimination final. The winner of 4th and 5th plays the loser of 2 and 3, and the winner of 2 and 3 plays Subiaco for a chance to earn their right to make it to the Waffle Grand Final, which will be here, Deck.
Absolutely.
Back at Optus Stadium. Last year, of course, it was at South Fremantle's home deck, and what an amazing day for the South Fremantle Footy Club.
So what does Waffle, in general, is Waffle people happy it's at Optus? Because I know the atmosphere at the smaller grounds, and last year was electric. It's a big stadium. Is there mixed messages?
Have you been to a Waffle Grand Final
Not
when
at
it's
all.
been at Optus Stadium?
No. I've watched it on TV over the years since it's been here. Look, it's a big stadium to fill. I'm sure the players love running out here and all that. I get all that. I get the razzmatazz, but gee, there's nothing like those suburban grounds packed in.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you pack a lot of people into a smaller venue, or you pack as many as you can. Well, maybe not pack, but you get as many as you can into Optus Stadium. So I was lucky enough to be at both the games that have been here, the grand finals, lucky enough to actually commentate them. So Subiaco and West Perth, Subiaco dominated the year after. Subiaco and South Fremantle, Subiaco dominated again. So
all those teams, though, in the five have fairly substantial followings. You should get 30,000 here, shouldn't you?
I think without looking, without Googling it, I reckon they got close to 30 in both those games. For West Perth Subi and for Subiaco and South.
They did. You're right. Yep.
And this year, with everything going on, with the West Australian public being so lucky to be able to go to football games, to not have COVID affecting us here, I think they'd be really bullish about getting more than 30,000. I know, and what's going to happen, Deck, we spoke about this off air.
Yep.
Lots of people are going to miss out on going to the grand final here. It's great that it's here. It's awesome.
Can you get tickets?
If I could get tickets, gee, I'd be the most popular man amongst my mates. I'll give you the tip. Just like you've been with a lot of your, I'm sure, your clients and people you've known for a number of years, I'm sure. Everyone is going to want a ticket to the AFL Grand Final. But the beautiful thing about having the Waffle Grand Final back at Optus Stadium is it will be a really good day. And anyone on their day can win it this year. I'm of the firm belief that whereas those two that I mentioned before, Subiaco, were clearly the better team for the year. Yeah. Subiaco have been the dominant Waffle team for apart from this year, even though they are on top of the ladder, but they were a class above, a cut above for a very long time. They were lucky not to win more premierships, and I wanted to raise this with you because I've been thinking about it. There was an article which suggested that the Eagles should, that the alignment, well, not the alignment, their club should no longer participate in the Waffle. Now, when that alignment first came in with East Perth for the Eagles and Fremantle with Peel, my belief of the alignments was it's not really fair. You've got professionals playing in the two teams and they'll be too good. But it's gone the other way. Correct. It's gone completely the other way with the Eagles because they've got guys playing in their Waffle team that probably wouldn't be playing.
No, they're making up numbers.
In the other Waffle clubs.
And the blowout of results cannot be good for the competition.
It's not.
No.
Every team should be able to beat every team on the given day. And the AFL's big on that as well. Yep. So it's gone so far the other way that when the Eagles players that aren't playing in the AFL go back and play, their development's actually being hindered because they're not playing in a team that's really unified, really. Like, they have a crack. I've seen it. I saw them this year. They had a real good go against Claremont for about 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, they fell away.
Well, I think like a lot of things at West Coast Eagles, from the top down, the whole place is going to be put under the microscope, is being put under the microscope. I personally think it has to have a Waffle side. I know a lot of people involved with East Perth were not happy with the alignment. I think it started off with the right intentions, but I think as time went on, it wasn't a great marriage. So personally, I'd like to see the West Coast Eagles stay as a Waffle side in its own right and be bolstered, not given any free kicks, no pun intended in any way, but it has to be a breeding ground for the next wave of Eagles AFL players, surely, in an ideal world.
Could it ever go back to the way it was where the players, let's say there's no alignments. There's no alignment for Fremantle and there's no alignment for West Coast. Could it ever go back to the way it was where the players play for a respective Waffle team? Well, I mean, they're at the club. They're at the club 4 or 5 days a week.
They are, but I think the problem is the majority, if not all, the AFL sides have a VFL or a junior side.
I understand that.
And I know I'd be frustrated. No matter who the coach is, you want people to play to a system. So what's going to happen, and you would see it, if there's no sort of feeder side, for the want of a better term, there's going to be people coming from all different styles of play for valid reasons. And you're just not going to get that I can understand that they're trying to get the same style of play, game plan, messages through from top right through to bottom.
Right.
I just think they've just got to pay a little bit more attention to the waffle side and just put a lot more emphasis on youth and really they've got a lot of money in the bank and working within the rules, working with the commission, but get a junior side right. I'm not sure. On the other side of the coin, Jimmy, how is, we see the Peel Fremantle relationship. What's that like?
It's okay.
Oh,
I mean,
just okay.
It wasn't great this year, but when they get this is the thing, Deck. When they have the AFL players playing, they're a significantly better team.
Well,
of course
and
they
that's
are.
always going to happen. I mean, you can't.
So how do you balance it?
Well, I don't know if you do, and then I guess there has to be integrity with the fixturing and everything else. Because I know even in the round, I know we're talking waffle. I want to talk about these other games before we go to a break, and then I want to get a little bit in depth with the 5 finalists after the break. But I see it in the round ball game. Perth Glory have an NPL side when there's a few injuries, or there's a couple of guys coming back from injury, and they've got sort of the A-League standard players coming in. They're too good for some of these other sides. Yeah. And there's a lot of conjecture about the fixturing that we've had to play Perth Glory, or we've had to play West Coast Eagles at the wrong time. So I get that. I don't know if there's a cut and dry way of fixing it. I just like to see both AFL clubs do well in this state and both to have strong feeder sides. Let's get on to the games. So you've explained sort of who needs to win, who'll want to win. So there doesn't seem to be any dead rubbers as such. Claremont and Swans, what are you predicting?
Claremont at Revo Fitness Stadium, they've shown that they're capable of actually winning the premiership this year. Swans on their day have been a good team. Watched them live actually knock off East Perth a few weeks ago, and they were really impressive. Mind you, East Perth weren't that flash. So I think Claremont at their home deck, I think they'll be hard to beat in that one.
Okay. Peel and Subiaco?
Subiaco will win that game, I think. It's in Mandurah.
Any news on the coaching scenario at Peel?
No. So Cam Shepherd, not from me, Cam Shepherd and the club came to an agreement.
Yep.
He won't be there next year. I mean, it will be a Fremantle call, won't it?
Yeah, we would think so. If we're to get that consistency, and again, I understand Cam's obviously done a wonderful job, and I hope it's mutual and all that. I'm not sure of the background at all, but I get if it does go that way, and that's what you're hearing, obviously.
I think it was floated on another SEN program that Chris Mayne's coming back to Western Australia. He'll probably go back to Fremantle.
Yep.
Whether or not he plays or not, you think if he does go back to Freo, he probably will play for Peel, and who knows? I mean, I think it was Paul Hazelby that floated the idea he could be a player coach.
Well, we haven't seen that in a while.
Long time.
And I'd like, it would be unique because, back in the day, as Peter Vlahos often talks about and knows a lot about his waffle history, and over the time, there has been great player coaches. So it'd be interesting if it does that. Perth and West Perth. Perth, for me, just from the outside looking in, they're one of the clubs that promised a lot last year. And we all said it, and have been very disappointing.
For a long time, Perth have really.
But reaching last
year was the big one, wasn't it? They had the young players come through. They had Logan McDonald, who ended up at Sydney.
Correct.
They had Nath O'Driscoll, who got drafted by Fremantle. They pressed really hard. I think they played finals last year. On the back of that win that they had, where South Fremantle might have been without a couple of their players, but this is the big one this week because West Perth would really have to belt them by a large margin if they're going to jump into 3 and jump Claremont. And for Perth, well, last week, great start against Peel Thunder. I think they kicked the first 6 or 7. Then they conceded about 12 or 13 goals on the trot. And they lost the game. So,
but you're expecting your boys to turn up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Play themselves into form and resting, no nothing.
They don't have a choice. Okay. They have to. If they're serious about winning a premiership this year, they have to beat Perth comprehensively tomorrow.
And the final game of the round, South Fremantle and West Coast.
Yeah. Well,
really just...
what have they got to play for? Pride.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, you'd like to see pride, and South Fremantle certainly want to keep momentum and playing well. Listen, we'll take a break, and when we come back after a break, I want your thoughts on each of the 5 and where we're going to go. Oh, welcome back to the Tab Touch Lounge on Friday. Normally we have Peter Vlahos alongside yours truly, Declan Kelly, but we've got all things waffle expert, Jimmy Williams. Jimmy, just before the break, we were talking about the last round of games. 5 teams. Tell me, I'm being told all 5 could win it. Give me the positives and negatives as we go through the 5.
Subiaco, ability to score, ability to move the ball quick. And if you can't stop them, and you can't, and they have a really solid defence too, by the way. But if they get their ball movement going, they're really hard to stop. So key is for them to beat them, you've got to be really strong defensively. Can't ease up for any periods of the game.
But they can be beaten.
They can,
as we've seen this year.
They can be beaten. I think their structure. If you can penetrate their structure and score quickly on your own terms and put them on the back foot.
Yep.
Put them under pressure. That's their weakness. If you can score quickly against them, that's your best bet.
South Fremantle?
Well, we saw it. They're a team who like to get ahead and get ahead well. When you get them in the grind, they're beatable. West Perth did it a few weeks ago. They controlled the game for the most part, and West Perth just kept coming and coming and coming. They went late, and they were able to get over the top of them. So they're a team that sort of like to get ahead. But in saying that, though, they came from behind last week. So in fairness, South came from behind last week to beat Swans. But in those tight contests, you really give yourself a chance.
If you can hold them from an early start.
Don't let them get away,
Okay.
because that's what they did to West Perth in the game before last time they played, and it was just too hard to catch up. So got to get on top of them.
Claremont, a lot of people's favourites this year.
They also like to play an attacking brand of football and can be exposed defensively. So they've got a great midfield. Bailey Rogers.
They don't seem to like
Jai Bolton.
They get bogged down a little bit in the wet weather. They don't that sort of fast flowing game seems to.
They like to get the ball inside 50 clean. Lots of shots on goal. They've got Alex Manuel up front. Can really hurt you on the scoreboard. Can score large. We saw that last week with what they did to West Coast. So, but all over the ground, they've got really good players on each line. So they're a tough team to beat.
Now leave your heart out of the next one. I want your head. I want your expert waffle analysis. West Perth.
Well, we know this is a team that don't give up, and I said that when we referenced South Fremantle. Great talent on every line. So you've got Tyler Keitel in your forward 50. Defensively, you got 2 young players in Zach Gordon and Noah Pegararo, who are really good, talented young defenders. And they've also got a great midfield in Shane Nelson and Aaron Black. They have to not drop their bundle if the score gets away from them. You know you're going to get heart for 4 quarters.
Yep.
But if a team goes too far, it's so hard to catch up. They have to be on from the outset, from the start. Otherwise, it can be really hard, and you spend all your tickets catching up, and you maybe at the end you don't get them like they did to South Fremantle.
And the final part of the 5, are Swans just there making up the numbers, or can they cause a surprise?
No, they can cause a surprise, yeah. Watch them to move the ball fast. I saw it against East Perth a few weeks back. Give their forwards a massive chance. Get it in quickly. Counter. They will get the ball from half back and they will just go. They'll go. No fear. And I love that. I love watching teams play like that.
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot, and this is on tape, remember.
Oh, no.
One team, who's going to go all the way?
Well, obviously the heart says West Perth. Love to see them win a premiership at Optus Stadium. I mean, they've just been so good for so long. I think they're so disciplined. I can't go past Subiaco.
Okay. Well, I have no way watched it as much as you. I'm going to pick Claremont to go all the way. So, listen, that's been wonderful to hear a waffle. We've got a lot of people who tune in and just wanted to know. I was just keen to get your expert view on what's going to be the final round.
I wouldn't go as far as expert, but I do appreciate it, Dick.
Final round. It's a great competition. It's got great history, and we seem to have a wonderful final 5. If you've just tuned in, that was our waffle wrap-up, and people have just been texting in for Shorty's multi. If you missed it, Geelong at minus 16.5, and in Randwick tomorrow, we'll put this up on Twitter, but at Randwick tomorrow, race 7, number 1, Zaki, at $2.05. The multi is $3.70. Jimmy, thank you.
Thanks very much, Ted. Great to have your company.
We'll be on again tomorrow morning with Peter Blowers. Will be back in the chair from 9. So thanks very much for your company on the Tab Touch Lounge.